film scenes are only 2 pages long, only 3 pages long. It's not King Lear.
Yeah.
150 pages. It's not
Right.
120 pages. It's 2 pages. They're
Yeah.
simple human transactions. If you find yourself unable to solve with an actor a 2-page scene, cut it. There's something wrong with the scene. It's too simple. A scene of reconciliation is a scene of interrogation, it's a scene of seduction. These are all things your actors have lived. There's nothing in that 2-page scene that they can't solve. And if you're having trouble, it's the scene.
We are the
Get Reelisms Podcast.
I am Adam Chase Rani.
And I am Christine Chen. And surprise, we're both filmmakers.
We get into it by sharing secrets, advice, and gossip in filmmaking.
We even get our other filmmaking friends to share theirs too.
So please, everybody, join us for
an ode
to
filmmaking.
We are back for another episode of the Get Reelisms Podcast, episode 179.
Wow.
Of the Get Reelisms Podcast. My name is Adam Chase Rani.
And I am Christine Chen, and we're excited today to have a special guest. Rob, could you introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you do to a blind person who's out there who doesn't know you at all?
Sure. I'm Rob Spera. I'm a film and television director. Before that, I directed theater all over the U.S., some abroad, and I trained originally as an actor. And I've been also a teacher at the American Film Institute for the past 20 years. And I'm most excited about the work I'm doing right now at an organization called Right Back Rise. It's a fellowship for people of color mid-career. And basically we bring 15 fellows in each year and develop a specific project with them, and as well as give them a huge stipend to help them get through the year while they're focused on their writing. And last year we had just around 50% at our annual Pitch Fest. We had just about 50% of the projects being sold.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great program.
No, I've been trying to get into it, Rob.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's well worth continuing. They also have this great, in addition to the fellows, they also bring in a community of about 150 circle members who are there to participate in the events, to get classes, to get advice and mentored. So it's probably the thing I'm most excited about in the past several years at least.
How did you get involved with Right Back Rise? When did that start exactly?
They're actually just finishing their second year. I came on in their second year.
Okay.
And one of my former students, Omar Kamara, who graduated AFI just a few years ago, he was one of the first fellows selected. And at that point, they didn't really have a directing component. They had a great woman, a writer and teacher named Jessica Sharza, who was running the writing, but they had no one to run a directing program within there. So they asked me to come aboard. And in addition to getting that stipend and doing their writing development, the Right Back Rise people are really invested in actually generating proofs of concept. So we just finished shooting a round of, I think, 8 proofs of concept that ranged in budget from about 25 to 40,000. Pretty remarkable organization founded by Dan Lin over at Netflix. But I have never been at an organization that was more fully invested in the artist. I've taught at a lot of schools, but here the artist is really celebrated in a way I just haven't seen before, and I'm really happy to be a part of that.
That sounds amazing. I love that there are opportunities out there now, more so to help to shepherd artists, because we know it's hard. It's a struggle every single day.
Yeah.
And especially now with the AI and so many things that are coming out, I think a lot of artists are just struggling to create. Creating is so much part of our identity, and not being able to hurts. So literally.
And finding a way to balance that in our lives so that we can satisfy ourselves creatively as well as keep food on the table is a challenge. And that's why one of the things I also teach at Right Back is a program about developing, it's called the long game. And it's really focused on developing a legitimate 5-year plan that helps you to navigate the industry in a way that puts full responsibility on you to generate content, but actually gives you a step-by-step way to move through the industry, playing the long game, not trying to solve it all in a year or two. And it's not, the 5-year plan is not a wish list. It's not about praying for it to happen or chanting. You can certainly do that. But this is really about what are the steps necessary, and also how to focus. I think one of the biggest concerns I have for my students and young artists in general is they are approaching the business in a much too haphazard a way. That in an attempt to get jobs, they open the door to everything, and they are everything to everyone, and they lose focus in terms of what their actual purpose is in the industry, what their own individual voice is. And over time, you can't move through it effectively unless you are making a decision about what the destination is with great specificity, and then deciding who are those people who are actually hiring you, people like you, and making movies like you want to make, and target those people. So all of your energy should go into one direction. We get lost, and sometimes we want to be just more interested in getting the job instead of generating career, which is a totally different thing.
That's great advice, because in our previous podcast,
Yeah.
Adam and I were just talking about the long game
Yeah.
and how you have to stay in it.
Right.
And sometimes you have to do maybe side hustles and whatever to be able to put food on the table so that you can continue to focus on what you want to do in your career. As a segue, can you think about the first job you ever had in the film industry, or like how you got started and
Sure.
how you stayed in it?
Yeah. The first job I got was actually a job I gave myself, teaching. I was a young character actor just getting out of acting school. I could not, the people I was meeting, these assistant casting directors or even casting directors, they really were not. What I realized that they're not in a position to actually give me a job, right? All they could do, their greatest power was to say no to me and no to the others. I realized that could be a long, steady, right, drive into the ground, right, where you're not moving
Yeah.
forward at all. You just don't, and you don't realize it. So a lot of my actor friends were going off and thinking, maybe it's my photo. So they get new photographs, and they get their teeth fixed, and they lose weight, and they're not really focused on the work at all. They're looking at how can I make it through get a job and make it through the industry. So my first job, I don't want to waste any time on anything like that. I wanted to spend my time doing the work. So
Yeah.
I did a couple things. I started producing theater in New York for very little money. Whatever I had in my pocket was what I used.
Yes.
And that's whatever my resources are, you have to identify it and move forward. So I started producing theater so I could act. But then I also had to direct. And once I found directing, there was no going back. I realized this is what I meant to do in terms of my personality, my lifestyle needs. And that's what I did. So that first job, my belief was that I would just do the work and eventually get noticed, and eventually get the traction I was looking for.
Right.
And then I also, because I was spending money doing my projects, I needed to generate income in some way, so that I didn't want to wait tables and bartend like a bunch of my friends were doing. I wanted to be invested in the work on a daily basis. So I started teaching. And I don't know what the fuck I was teaching, but I taught it. And I taught that whatever it was. And I just told a handful of my friends who were bitching about the business, I said, look, you're in the class, I'm the teacher, it's free, so shut up. And we meet once a week. And what you have to do is, if you can come for free, but if you invite friends and they like what they hear, they're going to pay.
Yes.
And that started pretty quickly, a lot of great word of mouth. So I think the important thing then was just taking jobs off the table, getting jobs off the table, and just
Focusing.
generating jobs. Because I
Yes.
think if you're in the business of generating work and generating jobs for people, you will never be out of work. That was my thought process. And eventually it came around pretty quickly because I told all my buddies and they were like harsh. I said, I'm quitting the business. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I'm quitting. I'm not looking for work anymore. I will never look for a job again. And that is what gave me the traction necessary, as well as the education I was looking for at the same time. I wanted to be doing the work in my 20s and not actually just
looking for it.
Becoming a professionally unemployed actor. And I didn't see the future in that.
Yes. Your trajectory is very similar to mine,
Yeah.
except not
Yeah.
the acting portion, but creating portion. I produced a
Absolutely.
lot of stuff to keep food on the table
That's right.
and generate your own opportunities and hire your friends. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
We have
Yeah.
an interesting question on Instagram from Kevin that maybe Rob can shed some light to, and Christine. So if someone wanted to be a producer, shouldn't they learn everything or most things on set to understand it more?
I think so. I, I think one of the bigger mistakes we make is that we wait for permission to do what we do.
Yeah.
So you say I'm a producer and you wait for the establishment to hire you. And until then, yes, you should be producing today. We should wait to get hired.
Agreed.
And I don't even like getting hired by a bigger company and working your way up through that machine. Start producing, start doing it. And the learning will come. And the great advantage you have is that if you're starting out now, you are the actual future of the industry. And you know more, right, about what's popular, what people want to watch and see and listen to. And you need to see that as a strength and not simply wait to get hired by the big guys, right? Because in
100%.
many cases, they're looking to you, right, to talk about what's new and different. We're in an industry that's driven by popular entertainment. We are so impacted and affected by what's happening today. And who knows that better? The younger generation coming up. So I think it's a mistake to not see the value and power that you have right now and not assume that you need to kind of wait and build yourself to that point where you'll be accepted by the established industry. Is start now. And you've never been at a point in history where you could do it more cheaply.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
You've never, way back when,
Yeah.
even this wasn't even just before my time, but partly as I shifted into the industry. If you wanted to review one of Hitchcock's films, you had to sit in the fucking theater all day, right? And try and figure out how do they do that shower scene and sit there and you watch the entire movie once. And there's no kind of reviewing it, going back and rewinding, and you have to take notes and take notes. You see it again and again. The technology that we have accessible to us, we have film studios and distribution companies in our phones now, right? So there's zero excuse for not making movies. There's zero excuse for not making your content. We had Issa Rae come up to Ride Back Rise a couple of months ago, and she said her basic model, right, her business model in the beginning was just make shit.
Yes.
Just make shit. And
Yes.
don't wait for it to be perfect. Don't wait for it to be the thing that's going to get you an
100%.
Academy Award. You need to start shooting. She talked about not being able to, she didn't know how to work a camera. So she had to teach herself. So she kept learning and growing inside her own little world that she was creating. And eventually that just got the heat and the relevance it needed.
Yes, 100%. I will second that so much. The first thing when I knew that this was what I was going to do, I went out and got a camera with the first gig that I managed to convince someone to hire me for, which was make some sort of commercial for them when I didn't know anything. I was learning about the camera while I was shooting this thing.
That's
I
right.
would be like, hold up, I need to consult something, which was me looking up like how to use the camera basically because I couldn't find the settings. And and then would be like, okay, we're good, let's continue. Yeah, but you figure it out. My first gig as a first AD was an accident. I didn't know most of the whole reason why I started Get Reelisms was because when I went on, I knew zero film lingo because up to that point, I had created a bubble, which was my team that I hired. And so didn't know any of these film terms. So I'm on set and people are like, all right, I guess we're going to flip the world. And I'm like, have no clue what the fuck that means.
That's right.
And I'm just like, yes, we are.
Yeah, let's go.
Quietly observing what they're doing. I'm like, I understand now. Flipping the world means we're shooting on the other side. Now I know. Next time. Yeah, guys, let's flip the world. I don't know what the fuck we were just talking about. But that's what you do. You have to go in and be okay to not know anything or at all.
Yeah, I always, in the very beginning, I always thought of the Wright brothers, right? So they're trying to
Right.
develop the plane that's
Yeah.
going to fly, but they didn't know how to fly something they hadn't invented yet. So
Right.
they had to teach themselves on the job. A really dangerous proposition when you think about it,
Yeah, at
right?
least
But
nobody's dying.
they still
Yes,
didn't know
on
how to
art.
learn the thing they hadn't invented. So
Yeah.
we've got to dig down. We're not inventing anything. The motion picture camera's been invented, right? All we are doing is trying to educate ourselves as to how to use it. And I think you're right, Christine. That attitude and that spirit is what keeps you working. It's what keeps you moving forward. It will assure you the career that you want, but it will also build your passion and keep you fresh and
Curiosity.
alive. That is really
Yes.
critical. That passion, I like to equate it to my pilot light, right? I feel like I've got a pilot light. And I was 20. One of the things, I look back at some old journals and I saw in my journals, I said, whatever you do as you enter this profession, you cannot let your pilot light go out.
Yeah.
Because once that goes out, you're dead in the water. You are
Mhm.
useless as an artist.
Yeah. What are certain things that you do to keep your pilot light on when it's hard out there?
Oh, yeah. You know what? One of the things that continues to pay me back over the years is teaching.
Same,
Getting
teach
into a
too.
room and
Yes.
looking at how excited everyone is.
Yes.
And it's really, education is a sacred thing. And I love to just lock the door and say, here we go.
Yeah.
We are blessed to be in this situation. Whoever your God is, I dropped you into this room and we get to spend 3 hours immersed in fucking art. That's what
Yes.
we get to do in safety, right? That is, right, a gift that you can't ignore. And the joy that comes with that, I think, is critical to us continuing to keep the pilot light lit. So any work you do, right, if you take a scene and you shoot it in your backyard every
Mhm.
weekend, it's going to fuel you. It reminds you who you are, what you're meant
Yes.
to do. And so my philosophy is the work is what saves us.
Yeah.
The work is what we do. And you can't, partly because of what it tends to take to make a movie, all the money in theory and all the equipment and all the trucks and all the people, we seem to wait. There's no other artist that waits. Dancers don't
You just
wait
do it. You
to
don't
be
wait.
told we give you permission to dance today, and painters don't wait to be given permission to paint today.
Right.
Partly because their resources, right, are meager. They don't need to. It's paint. A dancer needs music. A painter needs a paint and a brush and a canvas. But things have changed. Like we said, the technology affords us to be shooting regularly, which is one of the things I put in my book, was that a series of exercises that cost you nothing to shoot if you choose on a daily basis that develop your visual eye. Because I know we need tools that we can do regularly and build. If you can stage a still frame, one image, you can stage a scene. If you stage a scene, you can stage an act. You can stage an act. You can build an entire feature film.
Yeah.
But we got to start small, right at the kernel of what it is we do. And these exercises in the book are what actually give you a regimen, something you can rely on every day. And you don't need to necessarily shoot a short film. Yes, you should, but you can't do that every day. You can do exercise that'll afford you that opportunity. And then in addition, build some extra, just shoot on the weekends, shoot with your friends. Some of the best shooting I have ever done is when I'm just working with my friends. We just get together, 2 or
Yep.
3 people, someone buys a pizza, and then we argue and fight and shoot. What could be more fun?
That's true.
Yes,
It's summer
that's-
camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really highly relate to the teaching aspect
Mm.
because that's how Adam and I met. Adam was my mentee.
Ah,
And this podcast started because I just finished a feature film that I figured it out. It was my film school. And I was like not very excited about it anymore because it had taken forever to finish and I felt like my skill set was already beyond it
right.
and I almost didn't want to release it, which is a big thing that artists do. And then Adam was the one who's, dude, all the things that you're telling me about what you went through to make it is very interesting to me. You need to just tell people about that. You can learn stuff from
Right.
it. And so that's how we started our first podcast was just literally me telling him all the shit that went wrong on our feature, and he would ask me, and it was the realizing that what is no longer exciting to me anymore is very exciting to somebody else,
That's right.
which refuel my excitement about what I was doing.
Yeah,
So,
that's a great story. And I think that all those mistakes are critical, and the learning and the problems, right? That's where it all happens. And that's why we do it. Great
yeah,
story, Christine.
all the problems that we learn, that's where we learn everything from. But I read this from cover to cover, and I loved
Well,
this
thank you.
book. So, yeah, Rob Spera it's out now, right?
Oh yeah, the best place to get it is on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really designed it's something I designed over the years for myself originally. I kept those maxims distilled even more to catchphrases for myself on the back of my binder, so that I would read them through the morning before I shot, just to put myself in the right place. And they're 70 maxims, the tools that are distilled so to the core. One of the reasons I wrote it is over the years, I bought all the textbooks. I love directing. I bought them all, and they're written by really smart, enlightened people, and they are really accurate, but they're so dense.
Heavy.
Yes,
they're
and
very
they're
dense.
very
It's a good
difficult to
description.
actually. I found that I would get through a chapter or two and give up. And I realized that there wasn't a book that could actually distill the techniques to an accessible, practical tool that could be put into work tomorrow,
Yeah.
which is what you need. You don't want a book that you have to, or techniques that take so much to absorb that they never find their way onto the set with you. So these maxims are meant to be distilled to their essence, so you can put them into play tomorrow, and then assess, right, how they work, how they didn't work, how you can change, what you should do differently. And it's something that I advise. One of the reasons I made it small is that it'll fit in your back.
It's a
Yeah, it'll
little.
fit in your back pocket.
Yeah,
And you
I
keep it on set with
love
you. It's a
it.
field manual.
Yes,
And I think
yes.
that's
The
the key.
title of it is Film TV Director's Field Manual: 70 Maxims to Change Your Filmmaking by Rob Spera. I'm not just saying, I read through this. It's a very easy read. It was really great. The part that I really have been learning and understanding is a lot of times you want to say as little as possible, which I
Mhm.
thought that was really interesting. And
Wow.
I really just learned that moving here, because it's a different way of directing. So back when I lived in Austin, in order to be able to direct, I had to produce my own projects, and that's the way I got to
Mhm.
direct. And when you do that, you are in charge of every single little aspect of the film, everything, every single department. When I moved here, I discovered a new phenomenon, which is TV directing, where they've decided everything for you. In fact, like, you don't even get to decide on the casting or anything, because you guys
Right.
understand that a lot of this stuff is already established. So you just here
Basically
are the
day player.
tools. Yes, you
That's
hear
right.
the tools and figure out how to do it, type thing. And so I loved your advice about, especially when you're dealing with series regulars, to let them do their thing, and you direct the day players essentially. And when they see you do something that has significant impact, they'll come to you to ask to be directed. Because if
Yeah.
you start off assuming that they need direction, sometimes that can affect egos or develop
Ooh, yeah.
trust. Could you explain a little bit more about that? I thought
Sure.
that was really interesting.
It's really about having respect for the fact that these actors have been doing their jobs for sometimes.
Way longer
When I
than
did
you.
Supernatural, I was in the 9th season, and those actors are facing the same basic scene types every week, same basic circumstances and scenarios. So but they still need direction. So the trick is to at least acknowledge a respect for the fact that they've been doing this. You just showed up. They've been doing a very successful series without you. And I'm sure you can add something to the package right now, but that's going to have to be earned. And my way in is to make sure at least for the first 2 days, I will not direct them in terms of giving acting notes. Certainly I have to get blocking and stuff like that, but I do it in a way that is much more indirect. And the whole style of my directing is much more indirect. It's more informing the actor than it is directing the actor. And so for the first 2 days, what I want them to do is see me directing the guest stars who were hungry for my notes. They really want to participate. So when they see the quality of my direction with the guest stars, that's when they start to come to me for advice. So then we have a mutual respect that has been formed.
Earned.
And it's not about not thinking that they can do it by themselves. It's simply about having respect for what they do and then letting them come to me, so that there's a mutual respect, and then we can move forward and do what is traditionally expected as a director directing the actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question then is, how did you discover that? I'm sure you had something go wrong for you to discover this, or no? Did you
always, it doesn't take long to figure out that while you're part of my work, this approach comes from my approach with film as well. But I'll talk about that in a second. You can just see and sense, right, as you begin to walk over to those stars, right, their hands are coming up. No, don't direct me, and okay, I get it. So I realized I'm reading the room and I'm going to lay off, but I want them to watch this. I had a specific situation on a procedural show in which the exact right thing happened, right? Character actor who was a guest star we did a first just rehearsal, and he was just over the top and just playing the emotion is what it came down to. He was putting it all out there. And he was actually a suspect being interviewed by the stars who are FBI agents. And so he looked guilty as sin right there. After the rehearsal, the AD said to me, "What are you going to do now?" And I said, "Unfortunately, I've got to go direct, because I know that directing, it's tricky, especially in film, because and TV, camera is a microscope. The camera will see things that are not even there, will endow a subject with values that don't exist. So if you start talking about something and trying to force someone in a direction, it'll be over the top. So that's why it's unfortunate that I had to direct. But I went in, I very quickly, within 15 seconds, fixed the performance, just discussing objectives and obstacles. And as I walked away from the set to head back to the camera, one of the stars ran up to me and asked, "Will you direct me too?" And I thought, yeah, of course. But as soon as they sense that there's a director on set who actually knows what they're talking about, that will only step in when something needs to be fixed, then you begin to build real strong actor-director relationships. But it also plays into my approach in film, is because of the camera, like I mentioned, that the camera is going to see stuff that's not there, my goal is to direct it to your own risk. Because as soon as you open your mouth and try to simplify complex human emotions, you're probably going to suck the life out of them. Just in the communication, as I say, I think the scene should be about this. Now I try to find words for it. Then I spit them at the actor, and the actor has to take them in now and try to find words for it and try to make me happy and get it done. The work gets really much more, you're dealing with puppets. And I don't think that then the camera begins to see that stiffness. So the idea is to inform. Mm-hmm. Without directing. I always go into a set with at least 3 to 5 versions of a scene I want to shoot. Each one works. Each one is different in how it's expressed with blocking and camera. But I've gone through the gamut. I know how all of those work. I pick my favorite and I start there. But I never tell actors, sit here, stand there, move on this line, yell on that line, laugh on this line. It's more about giving them a lot of room. So what I might say is, in fact, I start every rehearsal this way. This is a really good scene, but I'm going to need your help. I think she comes through that door. I think she sits. I'm not sure, though. I know she probably goes to the bar at some point, and then maybe to the window. And no, there are blinds there. I think she opens the blind, but I'm not sure. So, in fact, I know exactly where all that stuff should take place. I know exactly what I want. But I don't need to tell that to the actor. What I want is the actor to find their way to it by themselves. And I want them to understand. I'm going to see them in the immediacy of the moment, not trying to remember what I said to do, but they are alive and thinking about it as they move through the scene. So really, in fact, it's a controlled improvisation in which they don't feel bound to what I suggested, but they are now working through it. And we'll do a rehearsal and they might say, you know what? I think she opens the blinds at the end. And I know that, but I want that because it's going to be where I need that subtextual light to come in at the end of the scene. But I don't want to tell her that why she's opening the blinds.
She's make the discovery.
Right. She's got to get there herself. So it's really more in film, it's more informing. Now in theater, I've directed over 100 plays, right? Theater is very different. You are actually getting an actor ready for a 2.5 hour take. They're going to run by themselves without you there. And you'll probably be in another state by the time they do this. And you need to help them. You're talking all the time. You're having to help them navigate that and help them get there and find the segues between these emotional arcs and give them an understanding of the entire play. So you're more likely to, if you approach film the way you approach theater, you're going to get really broad, over-the-top performances. So it's much more about informing than it is directing. It's much more, you go to a set and you have a good director on set, and if you ask a layperson, you bring your mom who's never been on a TV set or a film set, and you say, point to the director, tell me who the director is. They're not going to be able to point to him. They'll point to the AD. They'll point to the DP.
Yeah.
Because a good director is going to be sitting back right, and laying off of them.
They're part of the crew.
Yeah. That's right. They're watching it unfold and occasionally stepping in. But it's a totally different approach to the work than theater. And if you've trained as an actor, if you're in an acting class, there's not the same kind of director occasionally has to be an acting coach, but that not should be the norm. You get an actor in trouble, there's an actor having some trouble with a scene. Yeah, you should be an acting coach. You should have the skill set. And there's some basic tools you can use that are also in my book that you can use to help them get there. But what you're shooting for is for 99% of the time, you're actually allowing performance to take place. And it's never more underscored in the fact that we have film scenes are only 2 pages long, only 3 pages long. It's not King Lear. 150 pages. It's not 120 pages. It's 2 pages. They're simple human transactions. If you find yourself unable to solve with an actor a 2-page scene, cut it. There's something wrong with the scene. It's too simple. Right? It's a scene of reconciliation. It's a scene of interrogation. It's a scene of seduction. These are all things your actors have lived. There's nothing in that 2-page scene that they can't solve. And if you're having trouble, it's the scene. Either rewrite it or cut it. Am I yelling? I feel like I'm yelling a lot. Is that
No.
This is great.
I was going to ask, if you have a scene and your actor is asking you, I'm just not getting what I need from the other actor and I don't feel it or whatever, how do you navigate out of that without getting into the actor's head?
Yeah, I think what you want to do is really lean back on the objectives and the obstacles in the scene.
Okay.
And usually they've lost track of what the anchor in the scene is. The anchor is simply, all right, your character wants something. The other character is not likely to give it to them. And then they have a series of actions that they have to use to get what they want, right? And so the blocking should inform each one of those beats, right? Action is a beat, right? So the first beat might be to charm the other person, right? The second beat might be to insult the other person. The third beat might be to threaten the other person. And so what you want is for your blocking to inform what those beats are. So you're never even having to tell them, and they're not even having to get it from the other person, right? So it's really before you get to that point. So if you find yourself at a point in which the actor says, I'm not getting it, it really means something else, right? It really means that there's something in your setup that is not working. So I'm always inclined to blame myself first before I target the actors or anyone else. What did I miss here? It's too simple, right? What did I miss in my setup? I mentioned in the book, I had two actors who were young and good, but inexperienced. And we put the scene up, quick rehearsal, and it was awful. I could not believe how bad the scene was. I thought, but I knew enough even at the time to take a breath, go look at my binder, and I realized immediately it was my camera angle that threw the scene off. And so I never said a word. I went to the DP and said, I need your help here. I've made a big mistake. The camera's in the wrong place. I know it's going to take some time, but would you mind we change everything? And the DP, great guy, said, sure, no problem. And I never said a word to the actors. We ran the scene again without any acting notes with a new camera angle. And it was like I had Meryl Streep and her twin sister on set. It was my mistake. There was something else off. So it may be the blocking, which generates subtext, and maybe the camera angle, which generates subtext or meaning. And it's rarely something the actor or the other actor is doing. There's something off in how you've constructed the visual storytelling that supports the scene.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's fascinating, because there's a lot of I've done art department. I never done acting, but I do have a huge amount of respect for talent, especially in the ways that they have to like do certain things. And I've noticed that with good directors is that they always open it for collaboration, never to always be closed-minded and just be like, okay, move here, do this, do that. And then I would see sometimes actors be like, why do I need to do that? And then I would see, there's one director in particular I can think of that I noticed, he's like, because I fucking said so. That's why. Because I told you to. So just do the fucking scene in the way that I want to do it. And then the actors would be like, yes, sir, okay. And like the crew and all that. And it would be the same experience for me when I want to ask the director. I'm just only a set deck, but I'm like, hey, is this going to be okay in frame? Or is this right? Is it like, and the same director would be like, I don't care. Just if it looks good, fine, whatever. And it's now you're not giving me any direction, and you're not giving me any sort of clear indication that, hey, this doesn't really work. Or when I see the frame, when picture's up and I see the frame and it looks fucking terrible, and it makes me and my job and what I do absolutely fucking shitty. But I don't blame myself when I see the director just completely checked out of the entire process completely.
Right. That's what there's a big difference between being checked out and not caring.
Yeah.
And also having a very clear vision, but then allowing your collaborators to make it better.
Yeah.
And so much of because I've done such an incredible amount of prep before I show up.
Yeah.
In those first few weeks, my real focus, is on building that community so that they will actually do their best work. They'll feel welcome, they'll feel safe. That doesn't happen accidentally. Sometimes the best ideas are kept in someone's back pocket because they're afraid to suggest, because they may be ridiculed or made to feel small or unimportant. But I think we don't have to, but I think it's to a great advantage for directors to understand they're putting together a community of people that they need to tend to, they need to build confidence in, and they need to see that it's not just your movie. I have no patience for the auteur theory. The fact that a director might put his or her name above the title and say that this is, I am the author of this work, when there are 150 at least other people whose fingerprints are all over that goddamn movie.
Exactly.
Right? It has no respect for what we all do. So the idea is to encourage people, right? Listen to people, open the door to conversation, and never let an idea feel dismissed easily. In fact, the ideas I'm more likely to treat seriously are the ideas that make no sense to me. Because I know that I've proven to myself, if not to others, that I am not the smartest guy in the room. And I'm happy with that. Because what I want to do is open the door to other ideas. You know, so you don't feel the need to prove yourself or be the authority. What you're doing is building a safe community for people to interact with you and do their best work. So I think directors, once the badge gets put on, there's this, sometimes it's just, you feel the obligation to make all the decisions, or it's a demonstration of ego. And
Oh,
you really
yeah.
got to check your ego at the door big time.
Oh, yeah.
Because no one works for you. They work for your vision. You work for your vision as well. So step out of the way of your ego, and whatever the best answer is, go with it and support it. And again, that's all toward two things. I want the best work on the screen, and I don't want to live in a world, I don't want to work in a world in which everyone doesn't feel that sense of joy and passion that comes with showing up to the job. Do you imagine you're an assistant PA, you show up, you're doing intermittent traffic control.
Yeah.
So you're a fucking mile from the set. You're not making a movie anymore.
No.
Right? You might as well get a job
directing traffic.
being a valet car. Yeah, park valet car. That's what you should be doing to make more money. But so I think the end of the day, at the end of each shooting day, what I like to do every day without missing it is you need to find everybody on your set and thank them for what they've done that day. So it takes me about an hour, but right, it's an hour really well spent in forging a good work attitude, friendships, and people feeling like they're participating in the process. And it's their movie too. So you go to the trucks, you get on, you thank the gaffers and the grips, you thank everyone. You find that PA doing intermittent parking control, traffic control, and you just thank them, pat them on the back, shake their hand. And if you do that, you're going to have a team ready to go the distance for you and for the movie in addition. I'm talking too much. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're not. This is great.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That is a great segue. And I think that's something every director needs to remember, is to check your ego and to remember that it's the entire team that's making it happen. Every single bit. And I agree. I think building community doesn't just happen automatically. You have to, and it starts from the top down. You set the tone. And so there's a huge difference wanting to show up to work because you love being there, because you feel like whatever you're contributing is actually making a difference. And and you have to be told that sometimes. It's nice to hear it. You can't just assume they get it type thing. It's nice to be told, hey, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for this. I think every director needs to work some job on set.
I agree.
I think some crew job on set at least once or twice. It definitely should be a PA at some point. Should produce something at some point. And because I think all of these are different perspectives that yield a better director in terms of communication, in terms of being grateful, in terms of an understanding of the importance of everybody's job and a respect. And I think the best directors I've AD'd for have all been directors who have done all the things and know that they're not above it. And you'll see them here and there, like talking in the language of whatever crew member they're talking with, and that the crew really feels appreciated. And I think that is so important.
And it goes a long way to the quality of the work, and it extends past our community, right? We are in a world now where we could just use a little bit of compassion and empathy. I think it's and you can start in our little bubble, but I think it'll always translate.
Agreed.
Of course.
100%. I just think that no matter what, years from there, people may forget the movie that they even worked on. That happens a lot, but they will never forget the way that you made them feel.
Absolutely. I agree.
Sometimes
I
that's the
always
biggest
remember.
impact. Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, Christine. Sorry.
No, I was like, those are the things I remember. I remember the terrible experiences I've had, and I also remember the great ones. And you want to hopefully be the person who brings in the great experiences.
We realize that around the hub of the camera is where all that creative work is being done. And then as we step away from that, you have guys, gaffers and grips, lifting heavy equipment
all day.
What part of creativity or making movies is it for them unless you actually engage them and talk about what they achieved that day and how it worked and why it's going to be great for the movie and how much they're appreciated. It's otherwise they're just lifting heavy equipment. Right? Why work late hours?
Well, exactly. Why would you be there
What's the
from
point? Right.
from day till night, working
Right.
12 plus hours, breaking your
That's
back?
right. Without your family.
Yeah, exactly. that is especially too. And that's the funny part about that, because I was really like racking my brain about, oh yeah, like the most memorable experiences, because at least for me being set deck, like I make the joke, I think a few art department people don't like it, but I call myself a glorified furniture mover as a
I
set
say
deck.
that too.
And when I have a director come up to me, he's like, man, you are on top of it. You are sweating your ass off. You are moving shit. You are moving like giant potted plants all over the place with furniture dollies and shit like that. And I appreciate that you've done this work, and
Noticed.
thank you. And
Keep
when
her
they say that,
noticing.
just even once, I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's all that I really fucking needed. Or even just asking how my day was. Like, what
Right.
did you think about today? I'm like, oh, it was great. It was fantastic. Well, did you like the scene? What did you like of it? It's like sometimes they would approach me like during lunch, and I would just be like I would be like, I don't know, like I'd feel like I'm the center of attention if a director would do that. I'm just like, I don't know, why are you asking me? You know?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just,
totally.
But yeah, it goes a long way, and it's funny because like sometimes I don't remember those movies, but I remember that crew. I remember
Right.
those
Director, I
days.
remember
Right,
that.
that experience, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I always remember that. I always remember the directors who, and they're not that, to be a very good director, there are not that many.
No.
Sadly. Yeah.
That's the unfortunate part, is that sometimes you'd be excited, and then the first day just like you feel the direct, because like energy translates. So like when you have a director who's just there treating it like it's a fucking corporate 9-to-5 job, you're gonna feel like you're in a corporate 9-to-5 job. That's just the end of the day. That's how you feel. And I made some friends from that, but at the end of the day, you're just like, oh, thank God I'm getting home. But the best experiences are like when I'm hanging out with people. And like you said, like you collaborate with friends of yours, people who you got to know and get close to. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like summer camp. It feels like we're going to yell at each other at a certain point, but at the end of the day, we share a beer and we laugh about it. You know what I mean? And that's the best part.
Absolutely. 100%.
So we always end our podcast with a few questions
Okay.
that we ask all of our people.
Okay.
So we get to choose one. Adam,
Okay.
do you have those written down?
It's been a while.
So I know one of them is, if you could offer 3 top advices you've been able to bring through your career, what would they be? If you could tell your younger self who just started the industry in something they wish they'd known, what would that advice be?
The most important is to do the work, period. We've got to do the work. And I don't know how to explain this without, the writing is an art, but in our work, writing is a step in the process. So I think even if you're a writer, you've got to take yourself through the process to directing. So I would recommend that for the writers out there, that delivering just a script is not enough. It is a blueprint for a movie. All right. No one is going to go out and try to buy, right? Unless us filmmakers are going to go out and say, I can't wait to get that screenplay and look at it. It's not going to sell to the general public. It is a step. It's a blueprint. You see a beautiful home. You don't say, I can't wait to see those blueprints. I think for writers, we've got to see that we must take it to the next step. So you might direct just to educate yourself as to what works on the page, or you might discover that, you know what, I love directing as much and I want to be a writer-director. So I think doing the work informs and educates us all the time.
Yes.
I would also remind people that it's a long game, and you need to come up with a plan that settles you. You come up with a plan that you do the work every day, a little at a time, and you allow it to build over time. But you can't expect it to happen in a year or two. That's why my 5-year plan is 5 years, because I think that's a cycle. It generally takes that long to get through transitional periods. I've always worked with 5-year plans because I can look at what my mistakes are. I can track, did I make progress? Did I not? How can I fix that? So making sure you have a plan that is going to identify steps, legitimate steps you're going to take, and you can
Mhm.
assess whether or not they're working. The other thing is to just live. You have to live your life in the meantime.
Yeah.
You can't pause and say, when I direct my first feature.
Right.
Yeah. I think too many young filmmakers get fixated on directing their first feature.
Yep.
And after they finish that first feature, they don't know what's next. So if that
Dude.
feature goes nowhere, which most do, they go nowhere, which is okay. It's an educational experience. That's okay. But they're not looking at, I'm more concerned about my students' 10th feature,
Uh-huh.
their 8th feature. How are they going to generate a career in the business, not a first feature? That
Right.
first feature, if it doesn't do everything they think it's going to do, so when I ask my students, what's your plan? Usually the plan is write a great script, make the movie, go to Sundance, and never stop working. I say, that's a great plan. I'd love to have that plan, but it doesn't work most of the time. So what comes
Yes.
next?
When pigs fly.
And looking
you
at the
know.
long game in terms of what they do,
Yeah.
I think is really critical. Did I give you 3 or did I?
Yes,
No,
I
you
love
did it.
that. I
Okay.
especially love that last one because I had to learn that one. I learned that the hard way. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I for a very long time after I made technically my second feature, Ursley,
Mm.
I remember taking a tour, doing like a limited theatrical screening and all this other stuff, and at the end of it, I was burnt out.
Yeah.
I was not happy, and I was just tired, and a lot of it was because. For me, I had to go to Burning Man and find this out. But I had to go and realize, you know what? I've been putting my life on hold because I wasn't traveling anywhere because I thought if I traveled, then I might get that gig and then I'm somewhere and that gig could have changed my life and blah, blah, blah. And I had done so many things, put things on hold for my career. And in that instance, I realized that like I needed to live life. So I had cool stuff to talk about in my stories.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and because this career's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we have to sometimes we think that just because we have talent and that we're entitled to or the right to make a living at it. All we have the right to do as artists is to express ourselves. That's making a living at it is
Privilege.
privilege.
That's a
Absolutely.
privilege.
Yeah.
Making money to support your family as an artist is an absolute privilege. So you might be happy just going off right somewhere and expressing yourself on the weekends with your movies. It doesn't have to be in Hollywood necessarily.
Mhm.
So making sure that we see that just because you have talent does not mean you're entitled to a living.
Right.
No. Yeah.
It's a privilege.
I feel like I do have one more question just so we'll wrap
Sure.
it all up, take this plane for a landing. But you mentioned a couple of times, Rob, that you prioritize creativity over getting bogged down by the logistics, by building the quantity. Is there a valid argument that, and I know Christine can answer this question, but I'm curious for you, is there a valid argument against those who feel that, no, I have to do everything and I have to have a work regimen at all times and be rigorous without feeling like you need to expand your creativity? You know what I mean? Because you mentioned it like already, you have to live a life and you expand it by just living your life. But when you do work, you have to have an experience in order to understand some of those things. So like with your 5-year plan, do you feel like the long haul is the way to go when it comes to being creative, or do you have to have a balance of doing everything all at once and then maybe somehow fix the creativity?
Yeah, I think it's about adjusting. I think you want to have a rigorous work life. And by work, I don't mean being paid for it, right?
Exactly.
Work life means you are educating yourself by doing the same way a painter does every day. They paint. And so you want to have a rigorous, passionate, exciting work life, whether you're being paid for it or not.
Yes.
But you have to adjust your expectations for what that might turn into. You've got to look at the long game. As if you adjust your expectations to the long game, you don't have this clock running in you all the time and saying you should have done more by now. You should have done more by now. We are in an industry that is highly subjective. I can direct a film and you think it's the greatest film ever made, and someone else could think it's a piece of shit. And you're both right.
Yeah.
You're both right.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate, right, through that effectively or intelligently or deliberately? And there are professions in which if a major league ball player hits a home run, it's clear.
Yeah.
Here's the line. It went over the line.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball player puts a ball through a hoop. You go, clear. Got it. He's good at what he does. In our profession, it's all subjective. So not only do we have all this competition in it, we're having to move through it in a way that where everyone's right. It's all based on opinion. So it's very hard to navigate. There's no hierarchy, right? You don't get promoted and just keep working your way through it. So I think adjusting, you do the work, you educate, you get better. All right. And in the meantime, you would not lower your expectations. You just adjust them to know that this is a bit of a long haul, and you're either in for that long haul or you're not. And that's okay too. Right. But building, I think the 5-year plan that I build is you build in a way that makes you happy, right? That gives you a full life, right? As you move toward this destination. But other than that, it's if you have expectations that are unreasonable, they may work once, but looking at the long haul, right? 'Cause the people in my school at the AFI, when I was a student there, and even in my acting school, right? The people that came out of the blocks the quickest and the fastest, and you go, oh my God, their careers have started. I'll never get there.
You're comparing yourself.
Yeah, they're not around anymore.
No,
people,
that's true.
They had an immediate success for whatever reason, but they did not know then how to parlay that into 50 years of a life in movies. And that's different. That has to be orchestrated. And we can't just simply hope that it's going to work out for us. We've got to plan for that in a way that's really kind of specific and deliberate.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Rob, this was awesome. Yeah, we've had an hour of picking your brain. This has been
Thank you so much.
So sure, great to spend time with you guys.
Yeah, I learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, me too. Have a great day. Talk soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, and remember that we are looking at Rob's book, Film TV Director's Field Manual. That's available now on Amazon. Definitely go and check that out. I've read it cover to cover, and it's excellent. And I will continue to go back and revisit a lot of the things inside. So please go check it out. And,
thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time, Rob. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Yes. So hopefully we'll bring you back again.
Yeah. So. No, you got to come back again, Rob.
Will do.
Yeah.
Anytime. Invite me.
All right.
Talk soon.
Yeah. We'll talk soon.
Yes.
Just to end it for all of y'all, you know what time it is. It's getreelisms.com time, ladies and gentlemen. Pick up your books, pick up your shirts, pick up your hats. I don't know where my shirt is. I'm in between laundry right now, but I would have worn that today. Again, guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Hopefully we'll be back. Wait, actually, when's the next time we record? I don't remember. Not
Maybe
sure.
Next week.
We might be here next week. We don't know. For those of you tuning in, thank you so much. We love you. And hope y'all learned some. I learned a lot today. So thank you again, y'all. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.